And officially, a big welcome to everyone who's joining today. My name is Cayla Priest. I'm going to be your host today as we talk about CINC's newest communication feature, AutoTracks. I apologize for the glare of the windows and my glasses. It is one of the biggest downfalls of wearing glasses is there's always a glare when you're on video. But we wanted to come to you as live as possible for this edition of Office Hours. Office Hours happens bi-weekly, every Thursday, or not every Thursday, but bi-weekly on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm always joined by Mike Davis, my co-host and moderator for today. And I also have another guest with me today, Doug Lugers, because Mike may have to jump off a few minutes early to attend another meeting. So we'll say hello and possibly an early goodbye to Mike, but also a big welcome to Doug for being here. Doug is an actual agent in Southwest Florida, and he's one of our CINC University trainers as well. So Mike and Doug today will be focusing on making sure that we get all of your questions answered. We do have some prepared topics and information to share with you, but of course we know that questions will come up and we want to be able to answer those for you. To do that, you've got the chat and the Q&A section. Doug and Mike will be in both of those, taking your questions and either answering them in text there or pitching them to me to answer live. Mike may also jump in to answer some live, and I may occasionally go to Doug. We'll keep him on his toes to ask him about AutoTracks. We'll see. I think he's learning AutoTracks right along with the rest of you. Mike, any words of wisdom or how you want today to go before we get started?
No, just the Q&A and the chat for the questions. We love the engagement coming in because it's always nice to answer the questions you want to know versus just talking into our computers. So we love getting the questions come through. I think on our last one, we answered over 95 questions from the group. So that was a really cool one. So hopefully we can get some good information out in your hands today. Other than that, just take notes. A lot of this is going to be kind of the reasoning behind why we're applying AutoTracks. We will show you how to set them up as well. But of course, there's a ton of those videos in the help article as well. So this is kind of more of a why we're using it, I think, is where we're going. And then just we'll be here when you need us.
Yeah, we're going to start off talking more conceptually about what even is AutoTracks, and then closer to the end, we'll dive in with Mike on an actual how-to set it up, how you actually use it. But I know a lot of the questions that we've been getting as trainers at CINC, even out in person when we were doing our live events before we all had to shelter in place. A lot of people saying, well, what is the difference between AutoTracks and drip campaigns? And then, what are the scenarios that I want to use them on? Yeah. So that's what I want to start with, and before we get into the how-to, because I think the how-to will make more sense when you kind of understand what the feature even does, why we even created it. So let's start super basically. How is AutoTracks different than our traditional drip campaigns? So everyone here on the webinar has probably used a CINC drip campaign at some point. If you have not, a super brief overview of drip campaigns is it was simply communication to the lead dripped automatically. So it's emails and it's texts out to the lead automatically. So you could do them for specific topics. So maybe you had a renter and you wanted to send some information over, say, the next year about how you can go from renting to owning. So you don't have to do those one-on-one and do them manually. A drip campaign would take the place. You'd set up all the touches in advance, and then those would go out on the schedule that you selected out to the lead. Again, could be texts or emails. You could also do it for nurture campaigns, and you could also include reminders into those. But as you guys know, we also have this feature called plans, and plans were our internal checklists where, for example, if we put someone under contract, what are all the steps that we have to take until we actually get to the closing table? What paperwork do we need to get signed? What inspections do we need? How can I set that all up? And who owns doing those tasks? So what we found is that drip campaigns were great and plans were great, but as CINC is approaching its 10th year in business, we have learned a lot since we rolled those drip campaigns and plans features out. And we found that they could be integrated better. And we found that there could be some new technology rolled into both of those. So at its very core, AutoTracks is a joining together of drip campaigns and plans. So I think the biggest misconception that people have at this point is, so I'm going to run drip campaigns and I'm going to run AutoTracks, right? And I'm going to continue to run plans. And that's not the case. The plan here is to sunset or to slowly do away with our traditional drip campaign functionality and our traditional plans functionality. AutoTracks is the future of automated communication in CINC. I'll have some information for you later on, well, what happens to all my great, plans and drip campaigns that I have, worked on over the years. Those won't be going away. You'll have a way to automatically turn those into AutoTracks. But I think a lot of people say, well, I'll just keep using, drip campaigns until, I understand AutoTracks more, but I don't really have time to do it right now. Now's the time to learn how to use AutoTracks because, like I said, it is the future of that automated communication within CINC. There are some key differences though. So at its core, AutoTracks is going to help you automatedly send texts and emails in an automated fashion. That's a better way to say that. It will allow you to keep checklists, but it does have some key differences, some things that plans and drip campaigns couldn't do. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the biggest differences are. Again, if you have any questions as we're talking about this, you need me to slow down or repeat anything, please send that into the chat and Q&A so we can get you set up. So the key differences. The biggest one, and I think the one that made people most excited when we did announce this new feature several months ago, were the date-based capabilities. So now, if you've been using drip campaigns, you'll notice that when you set the campaign, you cannot set touches or the texts and emails up to go out on a certain date. It only is if I set it today, this touch goes out 10 days later, and then a touch goes out 30 days after that. There's nothing saying I want to be able to send this out on a certain date. And the biggest update that AutoTracks offers is that date-based capability. So that means that we can now do holiday-based campaigns. And in fact, as part of our new content that's also on this slide, we do have both US and Canadian holiday AutoTracks already set up for you. So those are made for you. Of course, you can always edit our content just like you always could before, but it is there to get you started. You can also do, pulling into that next bullet on the screen, putting in custom fields into your AutoTracks. Now, when Mike gets into showing us the how-to in just a few moments, he'll actually show you where to find those custom fields and how you can start using them. But really briefly, custom fields are simply, it's kind of like hard to say kind of what, like a better word for it, but it's essentially information about the lead that you want to store that CINC doesn't already have set up for you, right? We can already store leads' name, phone number, email address. We can already store what they're looking for, what their address is, but there are some things you may want to track that we don't have available, and that might be a purchase date. It might be like a wedding anniversary or a birthday. What are some other custom fields I'm not thinking of, Mike?
Those are the big ones I've noticed that people are excited about the AutoTracks for, is being able to add in the purchase anniversary so they can use the AutoTrack to create automated yearly follow-up on their purchase date. The birth dates, wedding anniversaries, anything that you're going to want to be able to reach out and be kind of nurture that lead through whatever that date-based criteria is. Those are the big ones I've thought of. I haven't seen them be used for really anything else.
Yeah, just like your dentist may send out a postcard saying, hey, it's time for your, checkup. This is going to be the same thing. You're going to be able to track customized dates especially dates are important. So you can send out that, 6 months after they've been in their house, a quick touch, a quick email or a text saying, congratulations, happy half birthday of living in your new home,
Yep.
and checking in and just staying in touch I think that is especially important with your sphere and your past clients. So there is a lot of new content that's going to help you stay in touch with your sphere and your past clients that's already set up for you in AutoTracks. There's other new content as well. We pivoted really quickly to release some COVID related content that's already set up for you as well. And we are also working on new content that we will touch on in the next slide. I think what is really cool about AutoTracks is the wizard setup. You may have noticed in CINC, we are trying to roll towards more of those wizard setups. And if you're not sure what that means, it basically is walking you through setting everything up step by step. Instead of you having to know what the next step is to get this set up, it will actually prompt you and show you what the next step is to do. In other words, I think that AutoTracks does an amazing job of laying everything out on the screen in a way that makes it super easy to understand. There's, drip campaigns had a lot of features, but they were all laid out on one screen, and it could be kind of difficult to know what's next, what's the right thing for me to do here. Whereas these wizard setups take you right through it and kind of hold your hand to kind of make that an easier process for you. And Priscilla is saying the wizard setup is awesome. So I agree. I think it's so helpful because this is a new feature and there are some new things you're going to have to learn. What you'll find though is from plans with our checklist and from drip campaigns with our, communication AutoTracks, it really has the same functionality. It's just laid out a lot better and you actually have access to more features now. Anything that I've missed here, Mike? What do you think is your kind of like biggest love with AutoTracks? What's your favorite feature?
I love just coming from when I was an account manager, plans were some of the feature that rolled out to kind of my client base first. So watching how complicated building plans was, and then looking at how, even though drips were still simple, how complicated that build out was. You as an agent, if you're spending your time learning this feature and not using it and being able to make your dials, it just was too complicated for you guys. Not that you're not smart enough to handle it, it's just not your wheelhouse. You don't need to be experts in it. So the wizarding setup makes it super simple to know these 5 steps and I'm done. I've set it, forget it. Now I can go back to being an agent and not a developer or building out content in my site. So I think the wizard setup is huge. It simplifies both of those features and makes them a lot more user friendly, and removes some of that frustration around, well, why does it do this or that? So we've really simplified and fine-tuned the feature. And then the holiday side, being able to do the date based are 2 of the things that I think are huge value adds into the AutoTrack.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that is my favorite feature too, but the date-based capabilities, I really loved being able to work in custom fields. I think is a really exciting thing. It's a question that we used to get in training all the time. And I always had to say, sadly, we can't, there's really no way to use those. It's cool to track, but there's no way to use them. And now we get to finally say, yes, there's a way to use them. And it's really important way to use them too.
Yeah.
So before we jump into actually looking at them, I will talk kind of briefly. If you have been using AutoTracks, here are some of the coming soon features. And I'm actually really curious about who is using AutoTracks right now. So if you have currently at least played around with it, kind of clicked around and tried to explore it, tell us in the chat. If you are currently using one, tell us in the chat. And I think it's important to know too, how many of you are here that you haven't explored it yet. So just give me some like, yes, we're using it, I've explored it, or no, I'm not using it yet in the chat. And that'll also help us when we get into the live platform for Mike to show us a how-to about how in-depth he needs to go yet. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they're not using it quite yet, but some working on it a little bit. Wow, you guys are fast. Got some fast typers. in the chat today. So let's talk about what's coming soon, and Mike can kind of scroll through that chat and see how experienced we are. So the biggest thing that's coming soon is called an easy button, for lack of a better word. The easy button is what we're calling it in the office. The easy button is going to be your best friend. The easy button is going to take your current drip campaigns and plans and pull them over into AutoTracks automatically. So right now this doesn't exist, but we're really excited that it's coming soon because it's going to not make you take all your drip campaigns and come over and recreate them, you know, one by one, typing them all in or copying and pasting into an AutoTrack. So it's really cool that you're going to be able to click one button and take it over. Again, not live yet, but coming soon, and we're really excited about it. I just saw in the corner of my eye that Francis said he didn't know about AutoTracks until today. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. You're in the right place. Our next coming soon feature that I'm so excited about is the auto shut off for text message replies. So right now we can automatically shut things off when someone sends you an email, because it's really easy for us to know if an email has been read yet or not. Text messages are a little more difficult because it's harder to tell on someone's phone if they've opened a text or not. So this is something that we've been working on, and we're really excited to roll it out soon, is being able to automatically stop the stop the auto track when they open or reply, when they reply to a text message. When they reply to that text message, it will turn that off. There is new content that we are working on, and I would love to know too in the chat, just as you guys were doing, what content you would really love to see in AutoTracks. I'll report that right back to our product team that's working on it. In addition to the templates that are already in there, we are working on new content for open houses, especially for open house leads, more for your sphere and for renters. Is there other content that you would really like to use? I see Colleen immediately put in first time buyers. That's awesome. Keep those coming, because I'm going to put it straight over to our product team.
And actually, I think,
oh, go ahead.
Okay, I think right now there might be a pop-up on the AutoTrack page. So if you go to AutoTracks right now, you might get a pop-up letting you know that we've rolled out Spanish content for holidays.
Yes,
and then also asking you on that modal what other topics you'd like to hear as well. So we'll certainly pass your topics on for content, but if you happen to be on that page, go ahead and let product know directly.
Yes, I love it. Thanks for letting me know. I had totally forgotten that on earlier this week, we did roll out some Spanish language AutoTracks as well, for those of you that have a large Spanish speaking clientele. I love that. One that I'm really excited about is to incorporate video touches. So right now, both in Drips and in AutoTracks, even though we do offer video email and text message on a one-by-one basis, or like in a mass message, but not automated, now we're going to allow you to roll video touches into AutoTracks. So that is really exciting, because that is such a powerful way to get to know someone. And then finally, recurring functionality for some of those tasks and other things that you need, not to just happen one time, but to happen multiple times. And I'm really excited to announce that all of these features are going to be rolled out in either June or July. One may come out at a time, but we have the time frame of sometime in June and July that all of these will be out. Again, drip campaigns, we're not going to be making any more updates to that because this is the future. Plans, we're not going to be making any more updates to that because this is the future. So go ahead and get used to it. And I think get really excited that we have these cool new features coming. Mike, do we have any questions that we want to touch on before we jump into looking in the platform?
Not specifically. A lot of it is just what content is. Someone did ask what source we can use for video.
That's what I assume, again, since it's not out yet, I'm not totally sure what the end kind of feature is going to look like. What I assume is going to be using the same videos that you can send out and sync, video, text, and emails, using those videos and your touches. So it wouldn't necessarily be, or I don't know, possibly you could like embed a YouTube video in it, but it could also be things that you are, recording right into CINC. If you aren't using CINC video, reach out to us and let us know, because we can get you set up. We've got some other webinars too that we can send you that touch more on that.
Yeah, if you go to cinccommunity.com/webinars, cinccommunity.com/webinars, you can watch. We did several marketing engagement webinars in April, discussing AutoTracks in a little more how-to detail, as well as the video messaging. So you can go back and watch those past recordings, or if you search video message in the Help Center, it's all keyword based. So this one's not specifically video messaging, so we don't want to chase squirrels, but do want to get the information in your hands.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mike, do you want to take over our screen share and take us into a platform and give us a little how-to?
Yeah, let's hit share screen. This will stop your screen share. Confirm.
That's okay. I consent.
There we go. Cayla and Doug, can you confirm you're seeing my screen?
Yes, all good.
We're seeing
nice and clear.
Awesome. Let me close out all of my distractions here.
I'll take over your chat.
Awesome. Okay, so now that we've kind of walked through what is an auto track, how to use it, and kind of what's coming with it, we want to show you how to apply it to your leads, and then walk through that build out side of it as well. So I've gone ahead and added in a test lead here for our example. An auto track, before I guess I start, it is a permission-based feature. So first things first, if you're a broker level user on the site, this is how you would turn this feature on for your agents to utilize. If you're an agent level user and this is something you want to use and it's not currently active for you, just let your broker know that they can toggle this on. It'll be under your agents tab. And when you'll just look next to each agent, edit permissions, and you'll see auto tracks right there. Okay, so you'll just toggle that on. Once you have that permission on though, what you're gonna see on a lead profile is gonna be this extra tab called auto tracks. So you should have notes, activity, info, reminders, plans, appointments, subscriptions. But once you have the auto track permission turned on, you will see auto tracks here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply 3 of the auto tracks that we have available, and just walk you through each of those, and then we'll go into build out. So one of the first ones Cayla touched base on today was the calendar campaign, so the date-based items. So we'll look at this one. You can see it says calendar items, apply to lead.
I love that it tells you right then, before you even look at it, what type of campaign it's going to be, whether it's the checklist or calendar or kind of those kind of tasks in a row, the campaigns.
Yeah, so you can see we have the 3 types here, the checklist items, which is very similar to our plans feature in the past. We have the campaign type, which is it's built very similar to your typical drip campaign. And then we have your calendar items, which is that new date-based feature that we brought to AutoTracks. So you're exactly right. Directly here, I don't have to worry about naming it a specific way to know. Naming it helps, but we do tell you what type you're applying. Great point. Once it's applied, you can see for this example, it's just a holiday template that we have built for you. We have one for US holidays and one for Canadian holidays. I've applied it to this lead. We're already past Easter, not quite to Mother's Day. So you can see it skipped over those holidays that we've already missed. And it's prepped to send out all of the new ones for this year: Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day. So all of those date-based items here. If you're not using the holiday template, you could also do the date based around those purchase anniversaries using those custom fields. So I'll show you where to add those custom fields here just a little later. Our other auto track is going to be kind of built similar to our drip campaigns. You're going to pick kind of the cadence you want your emails and texts to go out. And that will be automated. So day 1, you're sending an email. Day 2, sending a text. Day 4, email. So you're going to be able to go in and pick on what days you want and what messaging you want to go out on each of those days. And the last option is going to be that checklist items, kind of like plans. And you can see it's just a blank checklist. I come in and I know that it's due in 2 days, so I can complete that task, who it was completed by. I'm just coming to mark those complete as you're ready to go. Okay. So those are what each of those three look like on the lead itself. So you can see, where do I see this on the lead? How do I know what's going out, who's being sent what and when? It'll be right there directly on the lead. Or you can come to our AutoTrack section right here, and it'll be dropped onto what I like to call our AutoTrack dashboard. I don't know if we have an official name for it, but dashboard seems to work nicely for our trainings. And you'll see here a list of all of the ones that you have active or paused in your system. And let's look at this holiday template here. So let's say I'm on this page and I want to see what leads I have active on it. If I click on the lead icon, I can actually come in and see the number of leads that I have active on this AutoTrack, how far they progressed through the AutoTrack. I can see the open rates and click-through rates here as well. And if we clicked on the checklist template, so you know that one that was the list of tasks to complete. If I click on the leads here, I can actually come in, click on the lead profile. It'll drop me right onto the AutoTrack section, and then I can come in and mark that next task complete. So I can kind of work those tasks directly from the AutoTrack board or go into my leads here as well. So you can work those here, and notice I'm not losing my place. I'm not being navigated away from my AutoTrack page. I can come in, work this lead, close it, go back and click on the next lead that I might have tasks to complete or might have information to work on directly from the AutoTrack page. But what you're seeing here is just an idea of the total number that you have running, how many AutoTracks you have active and how many AutoTracks you have paused, the number of leads on each one, as well as kind of the completion ratio on those. Since most of you in the chat had said that you haven't utilized AutoTracks, that you're probably not going to have anything on this page, or you may not even have the permission turned on. So the big thing we want to show you is, how do I build these? How do I get these active in my own site? So you'll use the setup wizard here, the start edit AutoTrack, and it drops you right into the AutoTrack template builder. So one thing to note with AutoTracks, very similar to drip campaigns, where you could have the broker create one campaign that applies to all of the leads in the system. So you could go through and do this once as a team from a broker account. If you're going to be using the same messaging, you're not doing any like personalized customization to the template. You can build once for the team, and that way every agent isn't having to go through this. If you do want your individual agents to control their own content, you would set it as a private AutoTrack. I'll show you where to do that permission here momentarily. When you're looking at the template builder, what you're seeing is all of the, we broke it down by who it applies to. So general can be applied to any lead, buyers are for buyers, sellers are for listings are for sellers, and nurtures are for your long-term people that you've communicated with already, past clients. So we do have a lot of content pre-built into the system, and we're continuing to improve upon and add to that content. As Cayla mentioned, we're rolling out open house AutoTracks as well as SOI. We already have some of that in here for the SOI, but it's specifically speaking under COVID right now. What you'll do from this page is just come in and pick out which AutoTrack you like. So let's do this COVID SOI. No, only has one email. Let's do Canadian holidays today. So you'll click on your template, and it's going to give you a quick preview of kind of how that template is built out. So if it's the calendar template, you're going to get the date that's supposed to go out, as well as a preview of the messaging. If it's the drip template type, you'll get the day, what's going out on each day. So you'll get a little preview of what the template is before you commit to it. So we'll go in and choose the speed to lead. We'll copy the template, and that drops you into step 2. So you can see where Cayla had mentioned walking through these wizards is giving you what step 1, what step 2. You're not having to remember the process and teach yourself how to build these every time. You're able to focus on what you're supposed to focus on. So immediately once you pick the template, you're dropped into step 2, where you're going in and editing the template. You're going to be able to go in and adjust the name. You'll be able to choose who it's going to. So for this example, it's geared to, we go ahead and set the permissions based on who we think the content is for. You can always make those adjustments. So for the speed to lead copy, that's for your buyers and buyer sellers. but if you wanted to, you can choose to send that to somebody else. You can choose the communication time frame, and you can choose to include or exclude the weekends or skip holidays. If you click next to the blue pencil next to each touch, you'll be able to go in and adjust that specific step. And then if you scroll down further, you can add new days. So if you need to add an additional day, like a day 5, a day 7, a day 10, you can add new days, and then you can add steps to whichever day that you choose as well. So you can go in and either add to or just leave it the same. Either way, we recommend reading each step so you're aware of what's being sent on your behalf, because it's really jarring to get a reply and not know where is this reply coming from. So definitely if you're turning these on, make sure you read the content and that you like it and understand what's going to be out to your leads. When you hit continue, you're dropped into step 3 of your wizard where you can adjust your settings. Step 3 is where you're going to be able to turn on the automation around your auto tracks. So earlier I showed you where you could go to manually apply that auto track. This is going to be if you want any auto triggers set up to have this automatically start or stop. So with that, we have the ability to automatically start auto tracks with the application of a label. So a good example of something that you would start with a label would be if you built a bad number or a bad email auto track. And with that, if you see someone that comes in with a bad email, you have a label called bad email. You apply that label and it kicks off your bad email auto track, which is a series of text messages trying to get them to give you their valid email. So that's the example of how to start with a label. For this example, it's speed to lead. So typically our speed to lead campaigns are started off of attempted contact. So it gives, when a lead comes in as that new lead stage of the pipeline, it gives you and the agents the opportunity to reach out first. Once you set to attempted contact, this campaign would then kick off. If anyone uses landing pages or our squeeze pages to generate their own traffic, you might be able, might need information going to that. So if you run a landing page for cash cabins and you want to talk about what that is and follow up with that person automatically, you can have landing pages when they register on a landing page, kick off an auto track to send out whatever your follow-up content might be. The custom fields. So again, this is our fields that track information that CINC doesn't track for you. So purchase anniversary is the really big one that people love for auto tracks. You'll be able to come in and choose the custom field of purchase anniversary. So once you add a date to that purchase anniversary field, it kicks off the auto track and kind of follows up accordingly. And then you can do specific sources as well. So if you wanted to apply based off of a specific source.
One that I've seen, just to kind of make your wheels turn, is a team that generated a lot of leads from a Dave Ramsey course. So you know that someone that comes in from something like that is interested in paying off debt, maybe cash purchases, things like that. So you could follow up with information about interest rates to those types of people, really good deals, kind of money saving tips. So you kind of have to think, leads coming in from, Google, they're all different, but leads coming in from that Dave Ramsey source, they all would be interested in the same information. So you can kind of get creative with that.
Great. I love that. That Dave Ramsey source is a good one because, exactly like Cayla said, they're coming in requesting, they're probably talking to you and having a different conversation or needing different information from you than just a typical Google lead. So exactly right. If you have those third-party sources that are going to be requesting different information for you or having a different conversation, you can gear a follow-up campaign based off of that source. Thank you, Cayla.
You're welcome.
You can also automatically stop your auto tracks. So you've always been able to have automatic stop triggers on your drip campaigns, but our plans feature you couldn't automatically stop. So you can see now that we've rolled in, we've kind of combined that functionality, and you can automatically stop your auto track by applying a label. A pipeline stage. So for this example of the speed to lead, we would do contacted because the purpose of that campaign is to get you in touch with that lead. Once that line of communication is open, the auto track doesn't make sense. So you're going to end it on contacted. Right now, we can also automatically stop when a lead replies to an email. As Cayla mentioned earlier in the webinar, we are working on the ability to automatically stop when they reply to a text message as well. Okay. This is another really, really cool feature of AutoTracks that I think is really cool, is the ability to automatically start another AutoTrack. So in the past with drip campaigns, what we've had to do is add a reminder as the very last step of a drip to know that that campaign had ended, to be able to apply a new campaign, to continue that automated follow-up and nurturing that's been going on. So with AutoTracks, you have the ability to go ahead and daisy chain them together. So a good example with content we have already created for you would be the holiday campaign. What you would do is the holiday AutoTrack for 2020, you would set up to automatically start off the AutoTrack holiday for 2021. So you daisy chain them together and you don't have any gap in automation.
Yeah, and I'd say another cool idea that I heard someone talking about at training earlier this year was if you had it for a checklist for like contract to close, you could say, okay, after that ends, I know that they're now a sold client, so I want to start an auto track that, you know, follows up with them on those custom field dates like we talked about before.
Oh, that's cool. So you would start with the checklist auto track for your contract to close. When that ends, you'd roll right into the calendar.
Your past client one.
The past client. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I love that. That's a great, excellent example. And you can also automatically start or take no action, but we like the auto start and rolling into another auto track there, being able to daisy chain those together. This is also, this step number 3 is also going to be where you're going to determine the permissions. If I do nothing else right now, this auto track remains private, only applicable to my leads. If I go ahead and hit allow team members to access this template, they're going to be able to utilize it on their leads as is, or they can make a copy of it and make their own adjustments for their own leads. You can see next to each agent, you can determine if they're able to copy it and use their own version, if they can edit the version you created, or if you just want to pass ownership over to that person. So maybe you're joining us today and you're an admin on a team that would actually be building all of these auto tracks and then assigning them to the agents. You'd be able to very easily hand over ownership without having to become the user, build it as them, and become user, etc. So be able to access permissions. So unchecked means private, only applicable to my leads. If I give permission, they're able to utilize it or make their own copies. You will save the settings, and this is going to give you the review and finalize. It's going to give you an overview of, all right, this speed delete campaign is set for buyers and sellers. It's going to send 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. It's going to start when the lead is in the attempted contact. It's going to stop here when they're contacted or they reply to communication. And it's currently editable by 0 members, and it's public to other members. So you get a very clear picture of who, what, when, where, and why for the auto track. Whereas before with drips and plans, you'd have to like click into the campaign and do a lot of research to figure out all of this information. We present it there right to you when you're creating it. Mm-hmm. You get another preview of what you've built out. If you've made any adjustments, you'll see all of your steps here. You'll hit save and exit. What you're able to do from here is you can publish the auto track, meaning it's active. If you have auto triggers, those auto triggers are in effect. If you don't have auto triggers turned on, you can now manually apply that track. Since this is a client site, I'm not going to make this one live because there are auto triggers in my example. And I don't want this going out to their leads. So I'm going to go ahead and exit auto track. If you exit the wizard at this point, your auto track is still saved. It's just not active right now. So we'll hit exit. And you can come in and see, there we go. My test speed delete is paused. And if I want to activate that, I can just click on this big pause button and choose the new status. Okay. And before we jump in, because there's probably going to be some questions, before we jump into that, I do want to show you where to create those custom fields and where to find them on a lead, and then we'll kind of circle back to all the questions we might have. Custom fields are created from a broker account because it's going to affect the whole site. So you'll go to settings, not your profile and settings, but the actual site settings in the navigation menu. And like the second to last option you'll see here as a broker is going to be custom fields. And you'll come in, you can see what fields you already have active. So in this site, we have the purchase anniversary and spousal information. You can come in and do
Dog B-Day.
I probably did that example because I think dogs are awesome.
I would totally keep track of my clients' dogs' birthdays.
Yeah. The really important stuff, the things that really matter. So you can see, you just pick a field and we have a text, which is a free type. So for example, for the spouse, you would just type the name. A number is going to be like the purchase amount. So like if you sold a home or bought a home, what that listing or sold price was, the final one. A date is going to pick a calendar date, and then true false is yes, no. So for the example of AutoTracks, Cayla, correct me if I'm wrong, that those are only going to auto trigger off of the date field, correct?
Yes, as far as I know.
Okay. Once you hit add field, you'll see it populates into your active fields and you're able to go in and add as many of these custom fields as you want. But I'm going to navigate to our leads page to show you where to see this on a lead, where to fill that information out. So we'll click on our lead under info. So here below secondary contact, once you've added custom fields, you'll get the custom field section. You can come in and click edit and you'll be able to add in that information there. And once you have that, if you have a custom, an auto track that's triggered on a custom field, once you fill out the date, it'll pick that up and fire off that auto track off of that custom field.
And you do not need to know the lead's actual like birth year. You can just put in that date for this year. It just needs to be the correct date. The year doesn't have to be the same.
All right, so that is the how-to side of it. I know that was a quicker how-to, just to get it within the time frame and be able to allow for questions. If you're looking for more in-depth, you can either schedule training through our support team or reach out directly to your account manager. You can search the Help Center for AutoTracks. There's a lot of how-to videos there, or you can check cincommunity.com/webinars. And watch a past recording from our April marketing and engagement webinars. But Cayla, that's all I had on the how-to, so we can go ahead and open up for questions, or if you think there's anything we need to add.
Yeah, there's just a couple of questions. Priscilla asked, why would you pause an auto track on a lead? Can you give us like some scenarios you might do that for?
The biggest scenario that I can think of would be if you're making an adjustment to that auto track, if you're going in and updating the content of the steps that haven't gone out yet, you would pause that auto track on a lead. I mean, it would really just depend on what the content of that auto track was to really build the scenario of why you would pause it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if someone's like putting their search on hold for some reason, I might pause it. You know, possibly you had something going for them and then they bought sooner than you thought they would. Maybe you could pause it. At that point, you probably could just end it for them completely. But I think it will kind of just vary from lead to lead. If someone complains that they're getting too many emails from you and you want to make sure they only receive property alerts, then you could go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's like one universal rule of if it's this type of lead, you pause. I think it's going to be very situational as well as dependent upon the content of that auto track. But again, those are just a couple that Cayla and I could think of.
Yeah. The other question I got, when are the Spanish auto tracks going to be activated? And I just confirmed, I chatted into the office. They are already live. So you should already see those. If you don't see them, I would just give a call to support. That number is 855-246-2717. You can also see it right in your platform. They can kind of troubleshoot if you're not seeing those.
Yeah. I wish it looks like it's like just kind of hidden in the template name, so you can see spa of Spanish.
Uh-huh.
But if you hover over the template, it'll give you like a little, I don't know if you can see it next to my mouse hand. It says CINC Holidays Spanish. If you hover over the title of each one, it should show that. So it's possible that the Spanish is just hidden in the title, but it should be active in the site.
Mm-hmm. So we got a question from Tristan with kind of like a little troubleshooting thing. So he said, do AutoTracks work when the trigger is a label if the label is applied through the CINC agent app? I tried this yesterday and it didn't look like it engaged until I went on the website and reapplied the label. It's possible that maybe your connection might have been, like your mobile connection might have been a little slow if you're not on Wi-Fi. That is kind of hard to troubleshoot, but I would kind of check your connection. It could be that it was just a little slow communicating with with your servers, but it should work just the same regardless of where you apply the label. There's a couple things I can think of that might have kind of made that one hiccup a little bit, but it should work just fine when you're applying the label from the app. And then Tristan sent in a follow-up. Are there any plans to add behavioral triggers? So if the lead returns after X amount of days, it engages in AutoTrack. That's a great question and a good idea, since we do have the behavioral messaging that works like that and engages right away with a text. I'm not sure that we would do that for a longer campaign. If you can think of a campaign that would go or kind of work really well for that, I would definitely submit that to our product team if you have an idea that maybe we haven't thought of yet, because I think behavioral messaging would kind of be able to handle that, would be a great option. But yeah, if there's a longer campaign that you have in mind that you think would work well based on behavior, I would definitely submit that to us because that's an interesting idea. Oh yeah, so Tristan's saying that he likes that he can edit the AutoTrack content, whereas behavioral messages, you can't edit that yet. That totally makes sense. I would say like send your ideas in to our product team and we can see what we can do.
Yeah.
Colleen asked if we could do, if you could kind of give us a demo, Mike, of how you might mass apply the holiday AutoTrack so everyone would get the Mother's Day campaign.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do this. Colleen, can you chat in? Do you want me to start all the way at the beginning from here or just show you how to actively apply one that's already created?
I think since I don't want to speak for Colleen. She said from the beginning.
Okay. So what we would do from the beginning is you'd come to your AutoTrack. We know that we're going to pick the holiday template, so we're just going to go ahead and hit Start Edit AutoTrack. And this is going to help you get that holiday template created so that way that Mother's Day one goes out. So we're going to do the holiday template for this one. So we'll either pick, if you're with us from the US, choose this one, the CINC Holidays. If you're with us from Canada, you still have moms up there, so we want you to be able to send Mother's Days there as well. So choose the Canadian holiday. So wherever you're located, choose that holiday template. It'll load. We're not going to worry about making any adjustments to it. We're just going to copy this template. This is, everyone has moms, so everyone can go out and send this one out to everyone. You know, it's not like sellers don't have Mother's Days or other holidays to celebrate. So we'll choose all of those holidays, leave those the same. This is where we would be able to determine how to get this out in mass. Is how do I get this campaign applied to all of my leads currently in the platform? And the easiest way to do that would be with the application of a label. So I may have shot myself in the foot here, but before you can select the label that's going to kick off this holiday campaign, you actually have to create the label first. So let's just assume the label's been created. You'll come in, you'll choose what label kicks it off. So drip trigger. You can see in this site, they've actually created a label section called triggers. you can do something very similar, but essentially you'll create the label first so it shows up as an option for you to utilize. You'll choose the label. So now when I apply that specific label, it's going to go off and apply this campaign. So that's going to be the easiest option, is be able, when you're building that auto track, make sure you have the label selected to auto trigger. Adjust any of the other settings that you would like to adjust, add the permissions accordingly, save settings. Save and exit, and we'll actually publish this auto track. So once I have it created, I've gone in, I've added the auto track to apply based off of the application of a label. I'm going to go to my leads page. What I would do then is I would use my filters to narrow down to the list of leads that I want to apply it to. Since it's a holiday template, it's perfectly safe to apply to everybody in your system. You'll do mass actions. Once you've either narrowed down to the list you want, or if you're sending to everyone, just don't worry about the filters. You'll come in, select apply label to selected. Drip trigger, choose the template and apply. Okay. So for this example, I'm just going to apply that label to my one test lead so I don't affect the whole site. But we'll go in, drip trigger, new campaign, apply. And now it may have prevented it because I already had the calendar one active on here.
And sometimes we just work too quickly on these webinars.
I know our brains are moving a little faster, so I'll add in a second one. Office hours, test. So now if I add that label, and refresh.
Putting you to the test.
What did I do wrong?
I mean, it could be your contact validity preventing it. It could be a couple other things, but that process that he's showing you is the correct process to mass apply one with a label. Maybe being unverified. We'll need to do some looking, but it's that process that he just showed you is the correct process to follow. You'll just want to have your label first and make sure that that's set up as your start trigger. And then of course, if you did want to trigger it, Destiny said that label wasn't added to the auto track. Thank you, Destiny.
Oh, that's right. I think
I love when we have fellow CINC employees joining the webinar and can troubleshoot for us when our brain's on webinar mode and not troubleshooting mode.
Thank you. Yes, we really, I did. You're right. I didn't.
Thank you, Destiny.
Even we make mistakes. Just gotta have fun with it.
I also just wanted to point out that if you did do this with a label, that would be everyone retroactively. Then you could have a different start trigger for all of your leads going forward to get that same campaign. So the label in this case would take care of anyone that's already in the platform. You would need to set up some other trigger for people going forward, because you don't want to be sitting there and adding that label to every single person that comes in.
Yeah, so right now, since we did have to go back to apply that label to the settings, you can do the auto track for the application for everyone who's already in your system, and then you could do the pipeline stage of either of attempted contact.
I might even do contacted for holidays, because then it's people that you've already spoken to, and it's not just like something coming from a stranger.
Yeah, that makes a little more sense. So contacted could be for once you get those leads to contact, it automatically kicks off that holiday campaign for you from your office.
Perfect.
Then save. Yeah, make sure you actually save the settings with the label in there if you're going to apply it. Otherwise, you'll have to remove the label and then reapply it.
You're doing great, sweetie. Awesome. Well, it looks like that concludes all of our questions. You guys have been so great today. I really hope that this kind of demystified kind of exactly what our AutoTracks do, how they're here to kind of help you be like on the cutting edge of communications and sync. You guys have asked some really amazing questions, and you gave us some really great feedback on content that you're interested in. So huge thank you to everyone who joined us today, because you taught us a lot, as well as you getting to come in here and learn with us. Just quick housekeeping. This is recorded, or was recorded, so it will send out probably tomorrow morning once it's done processing and I can get it uploaded to YouTube for you guys. And just as a little bonus, we're also going to we're going to send to you our webinar that Mike and I did on Tuesday, which had to do with prospecting and follow-up in the CINC platform. And we'll also go ahead and send the Monday webinar, which was our role play webinar. So you guys will get all three just for joining us today. We really appreciate it very much. Any last minute words of wisdom, Mike? I know I always put you on the spot and ask that question.
No, I just wanted to say thank you guys for attending. This feature is really cool, so I'm excited to see you guys hop in, use it, and provide us that feedback and really take us to that next level, because we do rely on you to help us get where we're going with the product. So thank you guys for taking time out of your day to learn more about what the system is capable of, and how you can be successful with it.
And big thank you to Doug for being there in case Mike had to leave us early. I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today.
A lot of heavy lifting right there. Good job.
You know, you earned your pay today, Doug.
Good job, y'all.
Hopefully you learned something too. Again, big thank you. Have a really great rest of the day, a great weekend. Check out cincommunity.com/webinars for past recordings and to register for future webinars. This office hours webinar that happens every other Thursday, it's a changing topic each week. So I'd love some feedback from you guys on what you'd like to see us cover in the future. That would be super helpful. And CINC has a big goal to get more active AutoTracks out so we can start to see how it impacts you and get some good data on how it's working. So if you're watching this and you're not using it, please explore it, start to use it. Call support if you have any questions at all, because our frontline support team is amazing at answering your questions and getting you set up. It's not just, I think something's broken, it's also, how do I use this feature? They're great at doing that. And then of course, if you have any other specific questions for us, they can pitch it over to us. All right, that's the end of all the housekeeping. We appreciate you very much. Have a great rest of the day, and hopefully we'll see you next week on some other webinars. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.